Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. We're proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Welcome in on a Thursday morning, what promises to be a rather slow day in sports, to be honest. I just don't think, the Utes are off, the Cougars are off, the Aggies are off. The NBA and the NHL are still off, and that is what most of you folks pay attention to right there. So, yeah, it's going to be a little on the quiet side. Now, there is a little bit going on because it's rarely completely quiet. UVU is at Utah Tech tonight. UVU is setting itself up for the WAC tournament. UVU and Grand Canyon for a berth in the NCAA. That's what it looks like. It'd be surprising if anybody else in the league can beat those two teams on consecutive nights and win the conference tournament. So in-state game, UVU at Utah Tech, Southern Utah's at Abilene Christian. Aside from that, it is so quiet. So quiet. You know what we do have, though? Team USA, Team Canada, Four Nations face-off, title game. So you got that at 6 o'clock, and there'll be a lot of eyeballs on that. And then we'll get back into it. The Jazz and the NHL will return. And I think both teams play twice in 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's on again. Saturday we got a full complement of high school games, and we got high school basketball state tournaments, and it's craziness. So a little bit of calm tonight. There were a couple things that happened last night. We're going to get to those right here off the top of the show. Real Salt Lake played last night, opened their season, and Utah State destroyed San Jose State. We'll get to the Aggies' big win in the next segment, and you'll hear from Jerrod Calhoun. That was quite the beating. Meanwhile, Real Salt Lake sent parts of their team. They actually have 30-player rosters. So it doesn't work out perfectly that there's a first, second, and third team because you're playing 11 players, obviously. But it kind of works out that way. And last night was a mix of starters, absolutely. Brian Vera started at center back. He'll be there. The defensive midfielders, they had the partnership there of Emeka Nelly and Brian Ojeda. So there are definitely some starters there. And I think there were 3 other starters. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the number 10 spot there. Lachlan Brook got to play there. He had Marchuk on his right and Diogo Gonzalez on his left. They created a few opportunities, but not a lot. Now, beyond those players, Katrana started, but he left with concussion protocol, which, by the way, he hated. He was really mad at the team doctor. He was so mad at the team doctor that halftime I made a Donovan Mitchell joke. He was not happy about coming out of that game. The truth is, they're going to play 4 games in 2 weeks here, and he, no matter what he thinks, he wasn't going to play 360 minutes. So he sat 70 minutes there and he didn't want to, but it's just going to make him available later on. I think he's going to end up playing the same amount of time. I'd be surprised based on how he was acting. Maybe they'll hold him out. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe he'll have headaches and, he'll be out. But I won't be surprised if he starts in San Jose in the MLS opener on Saturday. The way he left the game and the way he was acting. We'll see what he does with the test, and he's got to pass the test and all that. We'll see how it works out. There were a lot of new guys, and some of those guys, especially at the striker position, I just think they're playing their third-string guy. They wanted to bring in a replacement for Chicho. They're planning to do that. We've been told they're planning to do that, not in the summer window, but in this window. But we were told at the start of preseason, not for the start of the regular season, but, sometime in a few weeks thereafter while the window's open. So they're still missing whoever their starting 9 is going to be, presumably is not on the roster yet. And the guy who's supposed to be the backup, Elias Manuel, yesterday came out and said, well, I'm not coming. And he's with New York Red Bulls, and so apparently they're going to have to move him to Europe now because he didn't want to report. And, the reports were anonymous and all that, and most of the people who you can get comment from with RSL were with the team in Costa Rica, which made that a little problematic. The one comment I did get is that report is mostly true. So I don't know at this point what part isn't true, but it's mostly true, which means they don't have their top 2 strikers because that's supposed to be Elias Manuel was supposed to be the replacement for Anderson Julio, who they moved on to Houston. So, and he was the backup to Chicho. So I'm not surprised RSL played a scoreless game because they don't really have a goal scorer up top. And the other 3 guys aren't really proven. I thought Marchuk on the right side played well at the end of last year. I thought he clearly settled in more quickly and was more effective and more efficient than Gonzalez and Marchuk. Now, to be fair, they joined late in the season. They need a training camp. They've had it. They need to play with a first-class striker, a guy who should be a starter. And it's like Pablo says, you never know, a young guy might blow up. That does happen. It rarely happens in basketball at that age. It definitely happens in soccer at that age. You can get a 20, 21, 22-year-old who can come in, be a difference maker, be special. RSL has that in Diego Luna. They had that in other players who they've since transferred out for a lot of money. We've seen it happen here. We've seen it happen in other places. Maybe these guys will be it. But right now they're targeted to be the third-string guys, and they just didn't deliver. They didn't create that many chances, and the field wasn't in great shape. It was natural grass, which is good, but it rains a lot there. It's soft, and it was clearly coming up. It looked like there were divots all over the field as players ran, dug in, turned, planted. There are just splotches of brown all over, which is kind of telltale. Even when you're watching on TV, even on a wide shot, you can see the impact it's having. So at least they competed, at least they defended, and they got the shutout. Now this whole thing rests on how they perform next Wednesday. It's 2 legs. You play there, you play at home, and then whoever's got the most goals advances, or, could end up in a shootout. Which, with the way shootouts have gone lately, RSL fans aren't excited about that. All right, here's Pablo Mastroeni after the game.
I think from our side, it was our first competitive game we've had all season. And so coming here to a difficult place against a really good team, I thought the guys performed well. I think we created a couple good chances to score a goal. But now, we got to go back home and take care of business. But it was a good game, I think, on both sides, hard fought and really competitive.
Profesor, buenas noches. Anthony Porra de Radio Colombia. Quiero preguntarle cuánta validez le da al hecho de que no pudieron meter gol de visita, que es un criterio de desempate. Si le preocupa eso, sabiendo que ahora el equipo Tico podría hacer gol de visita allá.
No, I think it's football. We try to score the goal. We put ourselves in good positions to score the goal, but it wasn't meant to be tonight. I think the objective going home now just becomes very clear. We got to do a good job of defending the right way, and we got to get that goal. So I think if we take care of what we can control, we'll be all right. But, it would have been nice to get a goal tonight for sure.
Profesor Juan Carlos Horario para Canal 13, nuestro canal. En algún momento ejerció presión alta. ¿Sintió usted que podía sacar el resultado del punto acá en el Estadio Nacional de Costa Rica?
Yeah, these games are very difficult. You're not going to get a lot of opportunities, especially as the away team. And our responsibility is to finish the chances. I think we had one good chance in the first half, and I think there was 2 good chances in the second half, with one being cleared off the line. And in these games, like I said, you're not going to get a lot of chances. You got to take advantage of it. And if those go in, if one of those go in, then I feel like we were in a good position to be able to take the win.
¿Sientes que hoy el equipo te hizo falta peso en el ataque o realmente la formación era para lograr controlar el partido?
Well, again, like I said, this is our first game, and Herediano has played, I think, 10 games in their league. They're much more up to speed with these kind of matches than we are. And so, we're tonight, if we're going to win the game, we're going to do it as a collective. We did a good job defensively, and we just lacked a little bit of composure in front of goal. But overall, I think the guys coming here and playing against this group, I think the guys did a good job.
You got to see a lot of new guys tonight. What did you make of the debuts?
Yeah, no, again, coming off of preseason, I had a good idea of what some of the newer players look like in preseason games. I was really impressed with really all the guys that came in, right? Kobe getting his debut, I thought he was excellent in the back. Rafa was great. Forster, I thought did a lot of great work and had created a couple good opportunities for himself. And Wolfie coming into the game, I thought was really good. Goes, which isn't his debut, but it's probably his second cap for our group. I thought he did a good job. So again, I think, if we're going to be successful, we're going to have to do it as a committee and a collective, and just really impressed with the guys that stepped in for the first time today to help the team get a good result here.
Hi, Coach. Good night. Here for ESPN. How worried are you with the away goal? Because Herediano could go to Utah with the idea for win or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that's the reality of this competition. An away goal for us tonight would have been really nice. But again, I think we have to defend like we defended tonight in Salt Lake. But now we have to have a little bit more composure and quality in front of goal. And that's the way we're going to approach it, knowing that these guys are capable of scoring goals. They have a very good attacking group and put balls in the box and create a lot of chances from crosses. So we just got to do another good job defensively. But I think the most important thing is we just got to have a little bit more composure in front of the goal.
Hi, Coach. Will Tara from Stories Radio. I would like to know, today was a difficult match for both teams. I saw good things about and bad things in this first leg, 0-0. But I would like to know what we can expect for the Real Salt Lake and Utah.
Yeah, it's again, I think for us, the one thing that was difficult to gauge, and tactics aside, is the fact that Herediano had 10 league games and they're at the top of the table, playing with a lot of confidence. We're coming off a preseason and we have to come to Costa Rica to play our first game. So it was going to always be difficult. My ask for the guys was we have to compete like we're in the middle of the season. All the other stuff will come. So there was a lot of moments that were sloppy passes, cheap giveaways. But what I was looking for was the mentality and the ability to compete the right way against a team that's in really good form. So going back to Salt Lake, like I said, we'll have one more game under our belt that we play this weekend. Hopefully we can sharpen up our passing, our decision making, and put together a complete game where we score a goal, but we defend the same way we did tonight.
There's RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni after the game. They will play Saturday night in San Jose. You'll hear that game on the Zone. And then next Wednesday, the first home game, second leg of this. And one team will be eliminated Wednesday and one team will advance, and we'll see how that works out. Take a break. When we come back, Utah State just destroying San Jose State. Are we seeing the future? No, we're seeing not the future because the Pac-12 is on the horizon for the Aggies. We'll get to that coming up. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. We're brought to you in part by Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. So the Aggies won big last night. They won easily. They blew out San Jose State 105-57, and they blew them out right from the start. You looked up, and they were doubling them up right out of the gate. It was 47-24 at halftime, and it was over. Completely and totally over. Ian Martinez leads away with 22. The lead gets big. You know, that's a chance to clear the bench. That's a chance to play everybody. None of the starters played 30 minutes. Martinez got his 22 points in 24 minutes. 4 of the 5 starters were in double figure. Gadaretse wasn't. They shot 52% from 3. They shot 57.5% from the floor. San Jose shot 37% from the floor, 29% from 3. I mean, it was telltale. It was a beating. And this is the kind of game they won't get to play going forward, because there's one more year of the Mountain West as we know it next year. And then several teams, based on football, are going to leave. Now, as it turns out, these teams that are strong in football, that are wanted in the Pac-12 and making the move, are also the top teams in basketball, with the exception of New Mexico. They're sitting in first place. They did lose last night. They got beat at Boise State, lost by 8. It was worse than that. They were down, I think they were down either 14 or 16 with 3 minutes to go. They were never, ever going to win that game. And they got drilled. And it doesn't really matter. There's still a game in front of Utah State. They got the tiebreaker. They got 4 games to go, and they only have one tough game left, and that's San Diego State. They ought to win the other 3. And even if they drop one of those 3, they've still got the tiebreaker. So they're going to win the regular season title, and they're going to be the 1 seed in the conference tournament. It would be shocking if that didn't happen. The Aggies take care of business against San Jose. Now they've got a tough stretch. They've got San Diego State coming up. And then they've also got to play at home and on Saturday. And then they've got to go on the road to Boise State and to CSU. So those are teams 3, 4, and 5 in the league. Utah State is 2, and all 4 of those teams are slated to go to the Pac-12 and join Oregon State, Washington State, Gonzaga was drubbing Washington State last night. That's just Washington State's gotten into the WCC and under 500 in the WCC. So if you're looking for teams that might be at the bottom in basketball, I mean, it's 2 years, so, who knows? They might have a lot more NIL money in 2 years. But, man, right now it is going very poorly for Washington State. That was not impressive as they played Gonzaga and just all fell apart. But nonetheless, they'll be in the Pac-12. That one ended up with Gonzaga winning 84-63. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in basketball, because what's going to happen is the bottom half of the league that Utah State destroys and drubs isn't going to be in the bottom half of the league. It's not going to be in the league anymore when the Aggies go off to the Pac-12. So it'll really reset things in both football and basketball, and it'll raise the bar. The bar was not raised last night. The Aggies won easily. Here's their head coach, Jerrod Calhoun, afterwards.
Coach, in a year where there's been a lot of drama, a lot of crazy finishes. Tonight, this was a much-needed game for you guys to go out there and win convincingly.
Yeah, I didn't see this one coming, to be honest with you. You never know, how your guys will respond after a tough loss. That New Mexico game was right to the wire, and we didn't finish. And, we didn't sulk. We didn't pout. I thought our leaders of our team, I thought Mason and Ian and Drake have been really good the last 48 hours. There's been a sense of urgency, and we wanted to unleash the beast in every single guy. We talked about that. I watched the Kobe Bryant documentary the other night, and, use some of that with our guys. You got to have that killer mentality, Spence. As you know, you've played a lot of basketball. And college basketball, February and March are where legends and teams are made. So we wanted to make sure we were ready to go tonight.
Yeah. Are you just waiting for the season to be over, or are you excited about what's coming next? And it really is a mentality, leadership. Great basketball game tonight. I was telling Scotty, offensively, you guys had a great rhythm. You had a great tempo. And then some of the best fast breaks I've seen where the ball didn't touch the floor, cross the court, cross the street, whatever you want to call it.
We call it riding the wave.
Riding the wave. I mean, some really great fast breaks, and it felt like everyone was involved.
Yeah, what was kind of cool? We have such a brotherhood here. I got that in my office. Above my desk, because I truly believe that's what makes this program a little bit different than most, certainly out here on the West Coast. There's a real brotherhood, and Taylor Funk came back and spent a day with us, and I thought it was an unbelievable message. And then we started really digging in to Coach Odom's last team, and kind of what we found was some great similarities. Right now, we're 19th in the country in offense. They were 16th. We were 100 and something in defense, but that team was 71. So I challenged our guys the last 2 days to try to guard as good as that team, because if you look at that team, Ashworth and Taylor Funk and some of those guys, a lot of similarities, man, between that team and this team. And Spence, I think you hit it on the head. When this team gets stops and gets out and run, we can beat a lot of people. And, we just weren't able to do that at New Mexico and get anything easy. Everything was hard. Tonight the game was easy because we were out on the run most of it.
Dexter got the offense going a little bit, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. He'd been a little quiet offensively over the last few games.
Yeah, I try to convince him to come out of the lineup. Me and him had a heart-to-heart, and we talked about his production as a starter. He was averaging 6 a game. Off the bench, he was averaging 9. He was getting 32 minutes, though, as a starter. I think he liked that. And 25 as a bench guy. So, he's a senior, and when Tuck went out, we inserted him in the lineup. I always go with the seniors this time of year, but I thought Tuck was awesome, and I thought Dex was awesome, and Dex has played better inside the spectrum. So it's just kind of weird, certain guys play better at certain places.
Yeah, and Dexter has shot it really, really well all season long. Even his first 2 misses were good. I can only ask you this question because you won by 50. I saw a new play. It was Carson dribbled for 24 seconds. Talk to me about it. Have you held that in your pocket? 24 seconds of dribbling, throw it to himself off the backboard, and then finish. I told Scotty when that I was like, just like Jerrod drew it.
They're in there still talking about that last lineup, and when I put KT, I wanted KT to get some more minutes. So when I put those 3 big guys in there, everybody with 3 minutes, everybody started dying laughing. I said, figure it out, guys. That's what basketball is. But I was happy for Fish. I thought Fish gave us some really good minutes. There's really not anybody that didn't play well. But at the end of the day, you got to turn the page in the morning. The Aztecs roll to town. Unbelievable, memorable games with these guys. I saw some highlights the other night, with the Sam Merrill shot and just different times in this series has been unbelievable. And we got to bring it Saturday night. They're playing great defense. They're holding people to 62.5. It's going to be a physical slugfest. And hopefully this weather can clear up here, and let's sell this thing out because we only got 2 more home games.
Yeah, Saturday night, San Diego State, like you said, it should be crazy. Everything I've heard is, Dutch told them, I'm not going to beg you to play hard anymore.
Yeah.
Player meeting, and they are guarding. Boise talking talking to Boise after that game, it was so hard to get anything, and that travels. But I want to go back to New Mexico as well, though, and just get your thoughts on this. I felt like, look, there's no moral victories, but if you're going to lose in New Mexico, I love the way you lost, because everyone in that locker room believed they should have won that game. And if you hopefully get the chance to meet them in the Mountain West Conference tournament, it is we owe them one, and it's
I hope
really,
you're right,
it's
Spence.
really hard to beat a team 3 times. You know that. As the coach that's won twice, you're like, crap, we got to play these dudes again. But then also, I'm serious in the sense you guys, there were numerous times they could have pulled away and it could have got ugly, but you stayed with it, and I think everyone in that locker room had to believe, man, we let that one get away. We should have won it. And that belief is going to be really important when you face the Lobos again.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet bus ride, plane ride. I was kicking myself after that game because we ran a play there and we didn't execute it really well. Those are the ones that really bother you. But, Spence, I got one better for you. My first year in Division II, I was beat 4 times. So I kind of don't believe you when you say the 3.
I'm telling you.
So in Division II, you play once, and twice, home and away. Then we played them in the conference tournament. Then we turned around for the 4th time and played them in the NCAA tournament, and I lost 4 times.
Dude.
Joe Mazzulla was my assistant. You can look this up.
Really?
We studied. The guy's name's Jim Crutchfield. He trapped, he pressed. He's a legend down at D2 in Florida, and Joe would have a stopwatch and figure out.
He was the dude that was scoring 140 a game or whatever.
He still does. He won the national championship 2 years ago. So I don't know if I believe in any myths that Spence is talking about over here, but hopefully you're right.
I want to get your thoughts because I want to get guys shout outs because I go to some shoot arounds and I see practice and I see how much a guy like Jackson Smith means to a team. And, when he hits that follow-away 3 against Air Force and then the one tonight, and you see the sideline erupt, just what does that mean as a coach to see a guy who puts in all that time and all that effort but doesn't see a lot of playing time, but to get that moment and be able to celebrate that with a
I'm
teammate?
glad you brought that up, Scotty, because he just lit up the A. Great moment for him. I was telling him, our West Virginia Final Four team, we had 4 guys like Jackson Smith. Those guys are so successful, whether it's in the oil and gas business. I mean, they're killing it. Jackson Smith has been unbelievable since I got here. He's as important as anybody we have in the program. He brings it every day. I've never seen a kid. He never complains. He always has a smile. There's been multiple games where I almost put him in. I think if he stays the course, I honestly believe, Scotty, he can play some meaningful minutes here. He's getting better. He makes open shots. He's just a wonderful kid. His mom and dad have done a great job with him, and I was really happy for him tonight.
Well, Coach, I know you want to keep an eye on this Boise State up 64-47 against New Mexico. Tell you what, that's life in the Mountain West. You never know what you're getting game in and game out.
How many do we have left now, Scotty? 4?
4 more left.
Yeah, 4 left. They're all going to be big. So Saturday should be fun, and I know the Aztecs will be ready.
All right, there's Jerrod Calhoun after Utah State posts a big win. Now, what does that mean for the NCAA tournament? Ken Pomeroy, KenPom.com, joined PK and I late in yesterday's show. The college basketball guru on the local teams, potential NCAA bids and seeding, the player of the year race, elite NBA player prospects who are supposed to be high draft picks. Why is their team losing if they're so good? We're getting into all that with Ken Pomeroy next. Stay with us. Good morning, TJ and PK, proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Ken Pomeroy joined us late in yesterday's show. You'll hear during the conversation, he says, if San Jose or if Utah State takes care of business as we expect against Utah State, they did. So that was a 30, 40, 50-point game for most of the second half. Business was taken care of. Everything else stands as Ken Pomeroy assesses the NCAA tournament and some of the best players in college hoops. Here's Ken Pomeroy with PK and I. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I'm curious, when you watch BYU blow out Kansas by 34 points, if you are completely stunned, or if you look at it and think, someone who just glances at my rankings wouldn't expect that, but Kansas has been trending in the wrong direction for 3 or 4 weeks now, and my numbers will catch up to it, and 34 is extreme, but I get the BYU one comfortably. What's your reaction when you see all that play out?
Closer to stunned, I think. I mean, it's, probably the worst performance that Bill Self has been on the sideline for in his illustrious coaching career. I mean, I don't know all the things he did at like Tulsa and Oral Roberts or anything like that, but he was pretty good at every stop he's been at, and he's obviously been awesome at Kansas. And so, yeah, to see one of his teams just, get dismantled like that was pretty stunning. The whole Kansas story to me is like the more fascinating part of this bit. I mean, I know we want to talk about BYU, but, the whole deal with Bill Self is he's kind of like John Calipari. He's getting lost in the new world of college basketball. He has a kind of an old school type team that doesn't have much of a perimeter threat. In fact, his 4 and his 5 don't really shoot threes. Like Hunter Dickinson does a little bit, but it's a pretty easy team to defend. And last night he kind of leaned into it and decided to actually start his 4 and his 5 and then another one of his 4. So he had 3 guys on the court on the starting lineup that could not shoot threes, and BYU took advantage of that early and jumped out to a lead. And I don't think that lineup made an appearance after that point, but it didn't matter. Like BYU was getting the shots they wanted, and Kansas was settling for shots that they were uncomfortable with the entire night. And it was just a flabbergasting event. Certainly a low point for Kansas basketball. I think they will bounce back. They're not as bad as they looked, and BYU's not as good as they looked, but obviously
the heck they aren't.
I mean, the beautiful thing is they do have to play at Arizona in their next game, so we'll find out if the Cougars can validate that. And it wouldn't even really require a win. It's just if they're competitive against Arizona, that would be an extremely encouraging sign.
For Kansas' sake, they've got a tough schedule down the road here as the season ends. Did you see a possibility of them not even making it, which would be catastrophic in their world?
It would be catastrophic. There would be pitchforks out for Bill Self if that happened.
Yeah.
Just 3 years removed from a national title.
Right.
And 5 years removed from 2020 when they would have been the favorite to win a national title if they played the tournament.
Do you think it's possible if, say, they just go in a tailspin?
I suppose they lost their last 5 games and the first game in the Big 12 tournament. There would be a conversation to be had about that. They're just so loaded, with quality wins at this point that it's really tough. I mean, they were, the committee did their sort of fake bracket reveal over the weekend, the top 16 seeds. I mean, Kansas was in that mix as a 4 seed, so it kind of tells you where they were at coming into the week. So to go from a 4 seed to out playing a Big 12 schedule would be difficult, but perhaps possible if they, again.
Yeah, I mean, they got Oklahoma State and Colorado, so they're not – you'd expect them to win those 2 games, but they do close with Tech and Arizona at home and at Houston's. I mean, that's 3 pretty good teams right there.
Yeah, I mean, if they lost Oklahoma State and Colorado, those would be blemishes. I mean, the point is losing those other 3 games wouldn't really affect them at all. So they'd have to lose these next 2 games and probably lose them the way they lost to BYU to really get people thinking about them missing the tournament.
They're 3-5 in the last 8. If they will go 2-3 here, beat the unranked teams, lose to the ranked teams, that puts you 5-8 in your last 13, and then we'll see if they can win a game in the tournament before they presumably run into a ranked team. Man, to think you can finish 6-9 and just cruise into the tournament, that's something.
It's something, but I mean, look around, DJ. Look at the SEC. What's going on there?
He's looking around right now.
All right, keep looking because you might see a team like Oklahoma, who is currently 3-10 in the SEC.
Man, Oklahoma
hit a lot of brackets.
Oklahoma and Texas are getting talked about, and they had a lot of hype, and they got draftable guys and all that, but they're just getting drilled in the SEC. Texas is doing a little better, but Oklahoma's getting drilled. Texas is under 500 in the league, though.
Well, the point is, Oklahoma is getting drilled, but people are still taking them seriously as a tournament team at 3-10.
Yeah.
So that Kansas could be, taken seriously as a tournament team at 6-9. Though, neutral site win over Duke in non-conference, we got other fish to fry if we're going to complain about Kansas being considered, because there's some doozies out there.
I read an ESPN.com story that BYU went up 10 spots, and the odds. Can you get that much out of one, that your odds of going in the tournament are going in as much better seed? Do they move that much with one home win, no matter how impressive it is, 34 points over Kansas?
I don't know. to what you're referring to, but yeah, that seems like a lot. I mean, yeah, that seems like a lot. Kansas is not old Kansas. This is not the most quality of wins, and doing it at home obviously discounts that a little bit. So, I mean, certainly BYU secured its bid for the moment. I mean, they made it more secure. Let's put it that way. So, but they're not safe, not completely safe. They could kick it away here down the stretch, but yeah, I mean, a parlay too. Like you're jumping Kansas in the standings, so that obviously has a nice ring to it as well when we're talking about getting a bid here.
How much do you place on seeding once the tournament is there to determine who you think might be successful?
Not as much as you might think. There's a whole big deal, that last kind of few days heading into the selection about who's getting what seed and how important that is, and even with the ones and the twos, the way I came around to this point of view is once the field's announced, I use my ratings. I'll do simulations of the tournament and figure out who has the best chance to win and whatever. And it's always the teams you end up thinking there's no real surprises there. But if you in those simulations I can reseed the teams, right? And I could take Auburn, who's going to be a 1 seed, and I can make them a 3 seed or something. And invariably their chances of winning the tournament don't change. So when it comes to thinking about who's going to win the tournament, the seeding is not terribly important. Teams are really pretty robust. Their chances are pretty robust when it comes to what different seed they might get. Now, getting them maybe some of the weaker teams getting to the Sweet 16, something like that. Maybe that's a slightly different story. I mean, what comes to mind too is last year BYU matches up with Duquesne, and I believe the point spread. I was thinking about this last night as I was watching the game, and I believe the point spread was the largest spread for a 6-11 game in tournament history. It was certainly close to that if that wasn't it. I mean, they were like a 10-point favorite in a 6-11 game, which was almost unheard of, and obviously did not win and really didn't come close to winning. So, right. So even that's the case where it seemed like a pretty favorable matchup, for a 6 seed, and it didn't work out. So yeah, seeding's a little it's obviously the cliche. It's way more important on who gets in than where they're seated. But yeah, for the most part, it's just matchup issues more than seeding itself.
You say BYU, you think they're not completely in, but they're pretty much in as long as they don't do anything crazy and lose some terrible games down the stretch. How confident are you in Utah State getting in? How much work did they have to do?
Yeah, I mean, slightly different situation, obviously, because the schedule is not going to be as friendly. There's, no. So they go, San Jose State. They play San Jose State tonight, and that's obviously a game that would be catastrophic to lose. Losing. It's hard to imagine they could lose that game in Logan, but that's the kind of minefield they have to run here. Is San Jose State. They close with Air Force at home. If you ever lost to an Air Force team that's winless in league at home, there'd be eyebrows raised. And even the solid teams they play that are potentially quad one wins. They have road games against Boise State and Colorado State, which are low end quality quad one games. I guess the point is you can't lose all of these games. Probably got to, obviously got to clean up the San Jose State and Air Force games. And then I think you go 1 and 2 against the trio of quality opponents they have sandwiched in between there. They have a home game against San Diego State. That would be nice to get. I think this holds serve at home. I think they're going to be okay. It's not a resume, that contains high-end quality wins, I guess, with the exception of a road win against St. Mary's, which has aged quite well. The road win against San Diego State is nice. So those will hold up. But, potentially with just 2 quad one wins, it's not a super safe situation. That said, we've mentioned some of these cases, certainly, I don't know, the Oklahoma case is interesting, but there's no real other pressure like right now from other, teams outside the power leagues for at-large bids. So that'll play in the Aggies' favor, and I think if they just hold serve at home here, go 3-2, they'll be in decent shape.
Who are some of your candidates for Player of the Year?
There's two candidates for Player of the Year. It's people have kind of talked about this Player of the Year race. So we got Cooper Flagg from Duke. You may have heard of him, and then we have Janai Broome from Auburn. They're a big man, and Duke and Auburn have really been, I'd say, two of the three. Like there's a tier of three teams at the top of college basketball right now that have just been absolutely outstanding, consistently outstanding over the course of the season, and Duke and Auburn are two of those. Houston would be the third. Houston doesn't really have a Player of the Year candidate. They just have like 8 guys who all play super hard, and some of them can shoot the ball, and it's really a team-oriented concept there. But Duke and Auburn, certainly led by those two guys. Not only do we have those two guys like chasing Player of the Year, and it's been a great race, and seems like Cooper Flagg is maybe the slight favorite right now, which is pretty stunning considering he's about 6 years younger than Janai Broome.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, we don't really have like anything close to like a third candidate for this. Like the rest of college basketball is like not star driven at all. But those two guys have really asserted themselves. I think any other year, either one of those guys would be kind of an easy choice. But they both exist this year, and it's going to be a tough choice. And I know there's like probably 10 or 12 of these Player of the Year awards, so I think there won't be a consensus. I think Cooper Flagg will probably win most of them, but you're going to see a lot of support for Janai Broome as well, just the way Auburn has played all year.
We'd like to point out that although you are clearly a national figure, KenPom.com figuring prominently when the selection committee gets together, you're also a local guy who lives on the Wasatch Front, so you know of the Jazz Tankathon 2025. Rutgers has 2 of the top 3 prospects according to most of the mock drafts. You have them ranked 79th. Is this just a case of these guys will really be something in 5 years and they're not ready to win in college basketball against guys who are 3 or 4 years older? Or as you've watched Rutgers, if you've watched them a little bit, you have a take on why they're 12 and 14 playing in the Big Ten with 2 of the top 3 prospects in the NBA draft?
Yes. It's a lot of things going on here. I mean, I think the first thing is, let's establish those two guys are extremely talented, and 5 years from now will probably be very wealthy humans playing a high level of basketball in the world's best basketball league. But the other thing is, like, Rutgers really doesn't have any supporting cast for these guys. I mean, it's kind of important. And, the difference between, Cooper Flagg, I mean, he's got John Shire did a tremendous job really kind of building that roster around not just Cooper Flagg. They have 2 other really talented freshmen as well who start for them. But, he's able to add some experience around those guys, some talented experience, whereas Steve Peichel at Rutgers has not really been successful doing that for the Rutgers basketball team. I was just looking at their roster here, and their third best player offensively is possibly a gentleman by the name of Jordan Durkak, who they transferred from Merrimack, one of the lower levels of Division I. So there's not a lot of help there. Dylan Harper is the real deal. I mean, with the right talent surrounding him, he could be a part of a really nice team. If he played for Duke, like, he subbed him out for Tyrese Proctor, who is basically Duke's point guard at this point when Cooper Flagg isn't handling the ball. Duke could still be really good. So Dylan Harper is the real deal. Ace Bailey, who is the larger of the 2 players, 6'10", kind of rangy big man. He's also very talented. He's a little less ready right now to play team basketball. He makes them better basically by his scoring, but not as much by anything else. So that's kind of the limitation there. But they just have those 2 dynamic players. It's a great example of kind of modern college basketball, where it's just hard to win with just getting 5-star talent at this point. Coaches have realized, the transfer market the way it is, you can load up on older, experienced guys. You can get the best of those guys, and getting the best of the 22 or 23-year-olds who are still in college is a little bit more of a proven track at this point than getting the best of 18 and 19-year-olds, which, a lot of coaches have struggled to kind of process and adapt to. I mean, the one exception there is Duke, but other than that, you look at teams that have, star freshmen, and there are more of those this year really than there have been in past years, but it's still the freshmen are not the ones driving the bus. It's really getting these older, experienced players in your program, whether they're homegrown in your program, which is rare this time of year, or rare in the current era, or just poaching a bunch of transfers from the best mid-majors. Either way, like, that's kind of how you build a winner right now.
How much do pros get involved with your stuff and you get involved with them? Because you had nice breakdowns on all these guys, as far as their NBA credentials.
Yeah, I would say like 15 years ago, it was definitely a bigger deal on that front. Now there's all sorts of like even more detailed services out there that, break down the strengths and weaknesses of these guys. There's more granular play-by-play stats out there that I don't have a lot of interaction with. I'm kind of focused on higher level things and big picture things for players or teams. So, there's still interest, but there's not like direct interest in terms of people asking me for advice or things like that.
Do you think that, like, if your name was Kenneth Higginbotham, if it would be like KenHiggs.com, wouldn't be as cool as KenPalm.com?
I agree. I don't think if that was my name, I would have chosen KenHiggs.com for the.
Good decision. Rock solid analysis by you. Wait, self-scout.
Well, what would you have done? I mean, come on. You sort of lucked out there.
I did. There's no doubt. I mean, it's funny, too, because, like, I really chose the website name before I had an idea for a website. So it was just, like, kind of a bit I did. Where I was like, I'm just going to, 20 years ago, buy this website name. I think I would do it later, but I could put whatever I wanted on there,
So you got a song title, but you don't have a song?
What about a melody? Lyrics? Huh.
Speaking of song titles, gentlemen, did you know this? This is a problem in my life now, but there's actually another Ken Pomeroy on the scene.
No.
Who is an up-and-coming female singer.
Really?
And now, like this year, it's been really worse than ever, where people are like pinging me about, I see you're like in, doing some concert in Oklahoma this week. You're really talented.
I don't want to hear about your problems. Try being David James, okay? Don't get started.
Fair enough.
Some Canadian photographer has DavidJames.com, or he did last time I looked, which was years ago. Gave up on that idea. Oh, hilarious. So if we keep you focused not on your music career and not on the scouting individual athletes, for people going forward, as they check KenPalm.com, like the top 35, 40, where is the line where if you've got them ranked there, they are 100% in the tournament? What's the gray area? And where's there a number where, like, if you're 50 or 55 or 60 or whatever, you're out. You're not getting in a large bid. Have you looked at that over the years? What's the range?
Yeah, I looked at that. So the one caveat here is that, the committee's they're not going down my list and making selections. So it's not a one-to-one correlation here. But, if you're in the top 30, yeah, you're pretty safe. It's extremely rare to be in the top 30 and not get in. And then in that 30 to 40-ish range, you're pretty good. Probably every year there might be 2 or so teams in that range that don't get in. Some years more, some years less, some years there's 0. But then once you get outside that top 40, it gets a little more dicey. There have been cases in the past where you do get extreme situations where teams have built up a really good resume on, like, close wins, and they've avoided, bad losses or whatever, but some of their losses have been lopsided, and they'll be ranked pretty low in my ratings, but their resume-based metrics will be good enough to get them in. So you do occasionally see a team in the 50s or 60s or even 70s getting that large bid. It is rare, but sometimes the stars align for that to happen. But, yeah, for the most part, if you're not in the top 40, very, very small chance that you're getting in the tournament by the at-large route anyway.
Ute fans just perked up. You've got them at 75. If they run the table, how high would they go? I mean, they got to run the table, right?
Got to run the table, which seems highly improbable, but could happen. And, yeah, they did that. They could get into the 60s, I suppose, and they would get some consideration, although I'm skeptical they would get in.
Be quiet, man. I'm listening to the Ken song. This is...
Here you are.
Lovely voice.
It's just her and a guitar.
Yeah.
There's no relation?
There's no relation. I got, I think she's like 20, 21, something like that. But I got an email from her dad a couple of years ago. And,
stay away from my kid.
No, he was like, whenever you Google Ken Pomeroy, like your image comes up. Like, can you change that? Can you call Google and change that?
How are you supposed to do that?
Yeah,
No,
I know. Like,
I'm me, and I got here first.
Exactly. It's not my problem.
Click.
Well, if she gets Taylor Swift money, let me know and make it worth my while. And, there's America. Maybe we'll come to some type of financial arrangement.
I'm buying this tune, man. Yeah.
The other thing is her name is Kendra. Like, why? I mean, she's the one who changed her name. It's not she's suing her, if anything.
She did it to go off your fame.
I believe that's the case.
Why aren't
exactly.
Where's the lawyers, buddy?
Yeah. Do you know a good one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've needed several over the
years. He's got one female lawyer he's particularly fond of, but I think she's retired. But, for the right amount of money, maybe she'd take one more case.
My lawyer was Lois Barr's, or not Lois, that's her name. Oops. My lawyer was Roseanne Barr's sister-in-law. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's some serious credentials there, I guess.
That's all I needed to know.
So the judge will be swayed by that when I
absolutely
take this poor girl to court.
Kendra, bad news. All right, Ken, we will leave it right there for now. We appreciate your time, and we will be following KenPom.com, and we'll get you on as things heat up in March.
Sounds great, guys. Appreciate it. Always love talking to you.
When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.